almost like I got it. That's what I'm like. I'm dying. That's it. I need to redo my will.
I think that's the issue. Oh, mercy.
Glad I caught that. That could have been embarrassing. Hi, everybody. On their stream.
Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello.
We think.
Before things.
Mm-hmm.
Pre.
Latin is
Pre meaning before.
pre-video.
Show meaning voila. You're welcome.
Okay, yeah. I wonder if let's see here. Dun, dun, dun.
Show meaning to party.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I was trying to explain. We were going over some encyclicals with my 8th graders, and I was like, okay, so like think about these words. Like, think about these words. It's Latin, but like, you know, pacem in terris, and they're like, I don't know. I'm like,
What in the what now? Yeah.
and I'm like, come on, and like, I can't explain to them well enough to like, so I'm like, pacem, don't nobis pacem, and they're like, I don't know it, and I was like, I know. So I just ended up like yelling it louder and repeating. I'm like, terrace, what does that sound like? And they're like, I don't know.
Terrestrial.
I'm so sorry.
No, I will always bring up like Latin, Greek, or Hebrew in my classes, and like we don't teach Greek or Hebrew, right? So,
Yeah.
but we do teach Latin, and like I inevitably find out within the first like 3 weeks which of my students take Latin, and like I don't mean to do it, but it becomes like okay, like whenever I have like a word, I'm like, all right, so do y'all you know what this word means? Do you know what this is? Have you talked about this? And like I have to constantly reassure, especially the freshmen, like I'm not reporting back to your teacher. Like this is, if I knew French or Spanish, I would do the same thing to them. You know, like
That's right.
I just only know dead languages.
Yeah.
So
I don't, and the thing is like, I don't know them enough, but like,
but you do.
I can guess pretty good at what it,
Yeah.
you know, because that's like put myself in the back. That's like a natural part of my brain that works,
Yeah,
like
languages.
And not enough to know them well enough, but like I can understand Spanish better than I can speak it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah.
Well, that's sometimes
got
that makes it hard, even like when I'm trying to explain like why something makes sense about languages, like why it's easy for me to remember something, and like for the same kind of reason, like I'm like, you know, why doesn't this make sense? You know, because to me it just clicks, but to them it's just like this is literally Greek.
Yeah.
Like I had a teacher, a professor in college once, who knew, I don't know, something like 14 languages. Just was brilliant. And one day, this is while we were studying in Rome, he was like the director of our Rome program. One day he was like starting our class, and he just starts writing on the board in what we found out later was Sanskrit.
It would have to be.
And
that was my guess.
and we all just kind of started, we were like, are we supposed to be writing this down? Like,
We don't know.
because he was speaking in English, but he was writing in
hear
some
the
unidentifiable language. And I was like, I know some Greek, I know Latin. That's not anything that I know.
This is none of
And
I
he
think I might be
eventually,
having a stroke.
like,
because it's not-
like 5 minutes into the like lecture, we all like, you know, realized, okay, it's not just any one of us, but we're all having this collective delusion. And he eventually realized, and he was like, oh, I'm writing an ancient Sanskrit. And he just erased it and kept on going. Like it just happens all the time.
Silly you.
As one does.
I was like, I want to reach that level. I want to get on that level where I just start writing in ancient languages. Like it just,
Can I just be smart like you? Thank you.
like I opened up a bag of Cheetos instead of Doritos. Silly me.
Silly. Just didn't even think about it. No, I thought about it. I saw those Cheetos and went, heck yeah.
Kathleen would never make that mistake.
No.
Never.
No.
This is not kid.
The
chips.
only reason I would open up Doritos over Cheetos is if Doritos was the only thing that was there, and I was too lazy to get in my car and drive.
I don't really know my chipological sciences.
Really,
I don't.
I think Doritos smell like feet.
that's
Personally.
not Fritos. You think Fritos?
I mean, any corn chip personally
Chunks,
is gonna smell like
Chunks'
feet.
feet smell like corn chips.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Like
What's
Fritos.
happening?
Well, he's got these little pudgy, like little soft, like, and you just want to like kiss him, and then you're like, ew, okay.
But aren't chips not pudgy and
I feel
soft?
that. Yeah.
But they have they have the corn chip. It's the associative property.
Yeah.
Feet
It's
and
very
corn
possibly
chips.
a chemical property.
It probably is.
It's nasty, is what it is.
Um,
Not that I won't eat a Dorito on occasion, but yeah.
this is just a gift for you guys and for our pre-show listeners. But
All two of you.
when I was a young girl, and this might explain some things as well, I cannot explain the action itself. But my favorite thing to do was when I had swim lessons.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of these swim lessons, we'd get some snacks. Well, usually it was a popsicle and those push pops and some chips. I got my Cheetos. Went back to the pool. Cheeto in the pool.
Oh. I thought you were going to say Cheeto in the push pop.
No.
That's kind of
Why I did this, I don't know. But it could explain the ingestion of such chlorine could explain some things. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That like brings a really dry feeling to my mouth. I don't like that.
Nope. It was, but it's not like, it wasn't like the Cheetos. It was like the Cheeto Puffs.
Yeah. That's what I was envisioning, but I don't like that.
Well, I don't know. I'm not saying that I like, apparently I did like it, but I don't know. I'm just.
Well, Michael, you sure
insight.
picked the day to come and find the pre-show.
You're welcome.
I feel the need to like offer up some like idiosyncrasy from my childhood. Let me see if I can find something.
Well, I mean, if that's all there is, I think that might suffice because now I feel like I overshared. I take it back.
No, this is good. Vulnerability is the threshold of real relationship.
Why are we always so vulnerable in the pre-show?
I don't know.
Because this is when we're at our most human.
Oh, that's probably true.
I'm going to think of something, Kathleen. Don't worry.
Okay.
I did.
Thanks for making me feel good about myself.
Kathleen, maybe you just needed a lot of chlorine in your diet.
Maybe I did.
Sometimes I did this as a kid, but I even still do it. I'll like put peanut butter and jelly just like in a bowl and mix it together and eat it. Is that weird? No? Okay.
I just told you I put
it's
Cheetos
just-
in the pool water.
That's
And you're like, I know, I'm weirder.
I mix
I'm not saying
foods
it's
I
better.
together.
mix
I'm
two
just trying to
things that
like,
people mix all the time. Peanut butter and jelly.
No, I'm not saying
Forget about the
weirder.
end. It's
I
all
was
in the
just-
one place. Peanut butter jelly.
Oh my gosh.
Time.
All right.
Sometimes I eat pizza.
All right. Both of you.
I don't dip it in any chlorinated waters. But.
Hey, you know what?
Although, maybe connected to that, there are certain foods that I do associate with certain types of beverage.
Okay.
So, like Pizza Hut pizza, Pepsi.
Interesting.
Okay.
So like
Those
if
I
you
was thinking
flavors.
beer, but the.
Well, I mean, I was a bit underage at the time, but
Oh yeah.
it may have been all part of the plan because, of course, Yum Foods owns them all. PepsiCo owns Yum.
Oh,
owns
yeah,
Pizza
that's
Hut
true.
and Taco Bell and all that.
Yeah.
But,
Well, Shakey's Pizza Parlor. I don't know if you remember.
yeah,
it.
Shakey's Pizza.
Shakey's and a pitcher of beer. That was my go-to place.
Fleur de Lis, which is a Baton Rouge establishment. It's it's square pizza. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know that I associate a particular type of beer with Fleur de Lis, but any beer will do. Although I prefer a lager.
I prefer cold.
Well, yeah, cold will, yeah.
Just drink lager beer.
Okay.
Lager beer.
Really?
Drink a-
Really? We're chumbawumping, are we?
I thought of something
Okay.
that is weird. That
Hit us
I
with your
do,
best shot, Olivia. Here we go.
But I know that this is something that I do and no one else does. I eat the orange peel.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
Yes.
I would prefer it to the flesh of the orange.
I like that. Yeah, I agree with that.
I eat the orange peel. It is so good,
I
especially
usually-
when it has a
Well,
lot of pith on it.
I mean, I
so
like
good.
I like the zest of the citrus. But I
No,
do
like
not
I eat like when it has a lot of the pith, like the white part
That's
on it.
my least
Yeah.
favorite part of
It
the
is
orange.
so good.
It is not.
Yeah.
It is not.
Literally, like since I was a kid, I've eaten the orange peel, and people will see me eat it because I'm not like ashamed of it, and I will offer it to people, like try it, see if you like it. Not one person on the planet has ever been like, yes, I can get
Ooh,
behind that.
hiss.
Well, I mean, I eat it only whenever I can't extract it from the orange flesh.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
I don't eat it ever.
I eat it like and throw away the flesh of the orange.
Now on the top of oranges,
whole
blood
point.
oranges are my favorite of the
Ooh.
oranges.
No, I've never tried a
Yes.
blood.
Oh,
Blood
man.
oranges are the best.
The Aranciata Rosa is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna
yeah,
plant
mouth
some
watered.
blood
I could tell.
orange trees in my house.
Slurp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's a typical one of these things here.
Why
Free
is it
shows.
that every time it's like you have 4 minutes left? I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom, and I have to go right now.
Well, go.
I'm
Now's
not.
the time. Oh,
I will not.
Oh. Well,
I am in control of my body today. Thank you.
there you go.
It will not tell
I
me what
don't
to
know,
do.
Kathleen. It depends.
Wish I'd have had my little little rim shot there.
Zinger.
Michael Krause, you would be incorrect in assuming that there is any connection to anything in the pre-show.
No, there is
in
not.
fact, this is the most dissociative disorder.
Yeah,
Most
that's why there's no
times-
The entire
segues.
program.
It's just
Yeah.
there's just a brick wall. We hit one and then we just
Yeah.
resolve into another.
Yeah,
topic.
this is the bumper car that is the pre-show.
Most times my brain is not connected to my mouth, which herein lies the problem.
Indeed.
That's
Thank
true.
you.
How could I disagree? Oh dear.
What?
Well, that's interesting. So Albert, you'll have to tell me if the desktop capture from my laptop is actually working again. You might want to look it up in the preview. Okay, it is. It is. It's okay. All right. Yep. Oh yeah. Okay. So it's working. All right. It just crashed. So surprise. So yeah. Okay. So we're good. We're good. Okay. Good. Let me make sure that will it actually change, or is it frozen? It's a few seconds behind. See, I think it's frozen. Is it? Nope. It's fine. It's just 6 years behind. Got it. Okay. No problem. We'll make it work. Hooray.
Make it work.
Designers, make it work.
Make it work.
Okay, well, there it is. Good. Okay, good.
I love meeting
Minute
you.
40.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What were you gonna say?
My B.
I'm sorry.
What were you gonna say?
I love meeting new people. I'm like, where did these people come from? They're like, listeners that pop up on our feed. I'm like,
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh,
need
I
a
guess I
Kleenex?
should pray, shouldn't I?
I got some Kleenex.
No, I'm okay. Just
Let-
wipe it on my
Let me pray.
Oh,
In the name of the
okay.
Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Almighty God, as we begin this Lenten season together, we give you thanks as you lead us into the desert to proclaim the kingdom on the other side of it. We ask, O Lord, that you would make this a great season, that you would help our parishioners and all of our listeners to encounter you, especially through the program that we bring. We ask for your protection over our equipment and over all of those who are suffering in any way today. May they know the healing power of Jesus Christ in their lives. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. And the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Alrighty, folks, you got about a minute, and we'll be here at the top of the hour for the Catholic Underground program, so stay right where you are. Weakness when presented with temptation to break our fasts and our penances, and yet we're reminded by Jesus himself that we do not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to stay close to God this Lent so that he's not a stranger the rest of the year. This Lenten reflection is brought to you by the Order of St. Lazarus, an international order of Christian chivalry dedicated to doing good works for those in need. For more information, visit st-lazarus.us.
Joining you on your Lenten journey. Confession, forgiveness, victory over sin and death. WPYR AM and LPFM Baton Rouge.
This episode, we spoke of sacred time, so we're going to speak now of sacred spaces, the sacred altars, and your home altars. The Catholic Underground starts right now. You have hit play on the Catholic Underground. We are a podcast, surprise, cutting through the noise of the digital continent and bringing you the topics that matter. It's episode number 438 for those of you who might be keeping score on your, tally sheet at home.
Yep.
I'm Father Chris Decker. I'm a priest of the Diocese of Baton Rouge in Louisiana, and joining us also in Louisiana, Kathleen Lee.
That is where I am.
Yeah, presently here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you're a teacher.
I am.
Yeah. We go over to Olivia Galino. You're a teacher.
Yes. Into
You are a human being. Okay.
You're human, you're a robot. Let's go up to the Jeff Star 1 near-Earth orbit satellite, which is orbiting its merry way across the outer orbit, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Hey,
we
Jeff.
are. And I'm just a student of life, so
Yeah.
everybody's happy.
Jeff learns every day.
I do.
Yeah, he does. Also in the ball pit this evening, switching the video for us, is Albert Dupont.
Ah, surprise. You thought we were going to say Ed Ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ed actually got clearance to go visit his mother up north.
Excellent.
And so he hopped on a plane and did that, and we said, yes, get out of here. Go visit
Goodbye.
your
Yeah,
mother.
northern Florida, that is.
Northern Florida, yeah, up north.
north to us.
Yeah, it is north to us. I've seen how those latitude lines work.
We
Yeah.
know geography. We're teachers.
Yeah.
That's right. They teach things.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so what we thought we would do is learn this episode. You might remember the last time we were on before quite possibly the strangest Mardi Gras on
Right.
record for us in Louisiana. So all of you who watch us on Catholic Faith television, and for those of you who watch us on Catholic television all around the United States, you know what snow is in most cases. We don't.
We don't. No, we don't.
And so our Mardi Gras, our Monday and Tuesday, Lundi and Mardi Gras, we're frozen here in most of Louisiana.
Yeah.
And in Louisiana, things shut down completely.
Well, I honestly think it was a distraction from this year. One of the greatest sorrows that we have faced satirically. Okay, let's is that they canceled Mardi Gras in New Orleans, in most of Louisiana. Yeah. They said that's enough. We barely got through Mardi Gras last year before the great COVID apocalypse happened, shut everything down. And so this year they decided, we're gonna shut it down completely. And everybody was like, oh no. And then they're like, and on top of that, to make sure that you crazy people stay inside your homes, we're gonna freeze the Deep South.
Yeah.
And they did.
And it was.
Wait a minute, are you saying that the mayor of New Orleans has a weather machine?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that it was the Lord saying, I know you people, and you will find any excuse to get out and party.
And they did.
And so they shut us down.
Right, yeah. So we did have a strange, that's why we were off the air last weekend, is because everyone was in the hunkering.
Yep.
But then, of course, Ash Wednesday came, as it always does.
Yep.
And we kind of dove into Lent.
Yeah. I think this is like what's that you're all gonna kill me, but Lord of the Rings is like second breakfast. This is like fourth Lent. I feel like
it is.
It doesn't feel like last Lent ended.
Yeah.
And so it feels like we took a deep breath and now we're like just in Lent phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think though, for me, I don't know, I can't speak of course about the state of your soul, but I really was looking forward to Ash Wednesday this year. Really looking forward to the Lenten season, and for some reason there's some fruit that's blossoming early in my heart, and I wonder if it's not because we had such a long Lent that never really ended, and so there's some richness in the water that we're drawing from. I think that we're called to draw from this Lent.
Yeah, I think you got something there, because for me, Advent and Lent are always seasons that I tend to kind of like like, I don't know the right word for it, maybe like outlast or survive. And by the time I'm like right about to get into it, it's like, okay, it's over. And I'm like, oh God, okay, thanks. Phew. Right. So I really think for me, and I think I said this, I've said it since last summer, with the continuation of this Lent in our Lenten lifestyle, for me, the Lord is like, no, sit in this for a little bit longer. Right. And every time I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get out. He's like, no, you're not. Sit back down. And so, I think that there's
good for your soul.
Yeah, there's something to that. And I think, the discussion has been, with my circle of people is like, there has got to be something in this time in the world that the Lord is trying to show us, trying to prepare us for. And whether that's one big thing or, many small things for different communities, for different individuals, I really think that this is an opportunity to sit in that and to wait.
I suspect he's calling us once again into the ark of the church. I suspect that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
He's, you heard the letter from Peter today at Mass. You know how many people that went into the ark? 8 of all the people that were on the earth, because they were so wrapped up in themselves, they didn't even notice the water was moving past their head. And I suspect at this time, I am no prophet. I am merely a priest, but I think that the Lord is calling us into the ark, and the world calls it quarantine. We call it building the ark, and that's why we're talking about sacred spaces today, because we talked about sacred time last episode. Sacred space is really important as well, and so we really want to dive into this kind of from the general and going all the way down to the specific as we have done. And the most important thing to realize is that the Lord, first of all, creates out of nothing, and then there is chaos, and then from the chaos he orders.
Yeah.
And so really the very first sacred space, we could say, is the Garden of Eden, right?
Yeah.
That's the first place that God wishes for us to meet him.
Yeah. I just taught this to my seniors. I spent like 2 weeks on this, which was quasi-intentional, but also kind of a surprise to me that we ended up spending that long on it. But
I bet they're interested in it too.
Yeah, because there's so much in there. But one of the things that they realized as we were talking is that, and I tried to bring out, especially as we tried to connect it to the later temple, is that the Garden of Eden Eden is actually, it's not the name of the garden. Eden is the name of like God's residence, right? God's palace, and the garden is like next to it. So the Garden of Eden is so close to where God lives, so to speak, that it's like your garden outside your house, right? It's that close. So the Garden of Eden is like heaven and earth meeting, right? That's how close Adam and Eve are to God, and so close that we even hear about how we actually hear about it. It's kind of funny. After the fall, like they recognize the sound of God's footsteps because he's walking in the garden looking for them.
Right.
But they only know what that sounds like because they've heard it before, because they go walking with God in the garden. So there's that intimacy with God, that space that he's created for them in his garden, that he's set up for them. Yeah.
It's made for communion.
Yeah. It's made not just so that they have a nice place and you stay there, I'll stay here, and we'll see each other on high holidays, but it's made so that they can commune together and every day, regularly.
Yeah.
And so if you look at things like that would kind of go down through salvation history, certainly the covenants are meeting places, right? And they almost all of them have a space that's set aside. In fact, I always tell my parishioners, pay attention when somebody erects an altar in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
It's as if to say it's here at this place, not just this thing happened, but this is a touch point. This is a place where heaven meets earth.
Yeah. Well, and I love the covenants too, because they're so different than what we would think or how we would think someone would act, especially because, you have a covenant that's set up, and then there's certain kind of, there's two sides, behaviors that God and the people are supposed to keep to in order to keep the covenant, right? And God's always going to be faithful to the covenant, but the Israelites that have the problem.
That's why you split the animal in half, Kathleen, and God walks through, and then you walk through.
Right.
Wow.
So good.
Don't think
I'm all
of your
about it.
French bulldog at this time.
Poor little chunk.
It's usually birds.
It's usually birds.
Usually the
It's
birds.
usually birds.
But
Right.
it's usually the Israelites that mess up. And so then we have a renewal of the covenant. We have a different covenant later on. And so God is kind of staking a new claim. He's reclaiming the covenant. But instead of, we think of our relationships like if you have a friendship or a relationship with someone and they've broken your heart or they've betrayed your trust or something, you might renew that friendship or that relationship, but you put some distance, right? You don't go back into that relationship and draw closer. But that's exactly what God does, right? Like every single covenant, and there's 7 of them, right? The last one being the covenant that Jesus comes to enact. Every single covenant, God is drawing nearer and nearer and nearer until he's literally enfleshed. Like he can come no closer. And like that's the beauty of like God's relationship with space, is that he's not afraid of being close to us. That's exactly what he wants. And he's not afraid even of like how much distance they want to put between themselves and God. And he's not afraid to draw himself into their mess.
That's right. Which is why, Jeff Blackwell, when you go to the Adoration Chapel, the word adoration means, adoratio means mouth to mouth.
Wow. Now, I learned something.
You are touching as close as you possibly can the God of the universe, preparing to receive him in Holy Communion. That's why adoration is what takes place before we receive Holy Communion, right? The Ecce Agnus Dei, the Behold the Lamb of God, that's a moment. Behold God's love for you, as was said from the temple. Of course, the temple was one of those places too that man had a desire to build, right? That's what David wants to build is a temple. He realizes, with Moses, there was a meeting tent. There was this movable temple, if you will. And David, from his heart, wants to build this solid place for the Lord to dwell.
Well, and just like I talked about this with my 6th graders. We just went over this, and I talked about the significance of that. What was the difference between this movable tent and the temple? And they were like, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, it's a permanent. Like it showed that the people were now in the promised land, and this was where they wanted God to be with them forever. And the significance even of that, and when we talk about sacred space, when we talk about later we'll talk about a little bit of church architecture and all that, it's significant, to make a space. A place where you meet God, whether it be a church or a temple in the Old Testament or a burning bush in the Old Testament or just your own home space. What you make that space out of and what you make it to look like is significant. Whether it be a transitional place or place, what kind of worship is going on there, it's significant.
Ever since I entered the seminary, I remember the very first thing that I did in my seminary room, as an 18-year-old, fresh out of high school, I had the crucifix from, I believe, I don't remember where I got it from, but it was the first thing that I hung in my seminary room. And for some reason, that became a thing. So every seminary room, as you transition to a different room or a different seminary, and the first thing that I would place would be the cross, the crucifix. And now I do that for rectories. Whenever I've changed rectories, the first thing that goes up is it's usually that crucifix. As a matter
I was
of
going to
fact.
ask, is you still have the same one now?
Because there's a significance to that of saying, Lord, I ask for you to dwell here and make this place the place of our meeting. And that's a temple, but it's also your living room in your home, the place where you want the Lord, where you beckon for him to meet you. How many bedrooms don't have crucifixes? And how many husbands and wives have marital troubles because they don't invite the Lord to dwell? How many single people have relationship trouble because they don't invite the Lord to dwell actually in this space where we live? How many priests and seminarians have trouble because we don't invite the Lord to dwell in the space where we are?
And it does need to be an invitation.
It does,
God's never gonna He's going to wait. He's not going to barge that door.
He created the stuff that made the threshold, but he won't cross it.
Yeah.
I love that.
You know, if we don't invite him in.
And just like with David, you know, I love it's 2 Samuel 7. Like I love what he kind of like one-ups David, right? Because David's like, I want to build you a house is the word, right? A bet.
Yeah.
In Hebrew, like I want to build you a house, and God says, and I'm going to make of you a house.
Oh, you're going to build a house for me?
He's like, that's really cute.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. It's not going to be you who does it. It's going to be your son. But I'm going to make of you a house. And he's talking like a dynasty, like a family line.
Yeah.
And I'm going to dwell within that line. And he means it because Jesus comes from the line of David.
That's right.
So he is literally going to reveal himself completely and fully in the line of David. And all it took was David to just realize, you know what? God didn't have a place to live. And to want to do something about it, to have an openness of heart. And God just explodes with generosity.
That's right. And then if you want to kind of look at another little layer of that, because this is the year of St. Joseph, Joseph's name means God will increase.
Yeah.
Joseph is of the royal line of David himself. That's how Jesus, of course, is in the line of David, because his dad is, right?
Yeah.
And so the very name of Joseph means God will increase. Well, how is he going to increase this dynasty, increase this line? The Messiah is to be born of Mary, also of the royal house, and Joseph.
Yeah.
Is your mind blown there, Jeff? Yeah.
I got to pick up the little pieces on the floor.
That's good. That's right. But do you see, like, so great is God's love for us that just a simple dwelling of brick is but a sign of the indwelling that he wishes to have within his people, within us as individuals. But that's all the more why we build houses for God. We build these temples, we build churches and things of that nature. And all these places are places of meeting, of communion, of coming together, communio, right? Of coming together as persons. And that's where covenants take place, right? Covenants are exchanges of persons.
Yeah.
And that's really why we have this desire to meet God and to have a capacity to make a place for him, a space for him as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though. I suppose maybe we should take just perhaps a brief moment here to remind you what you're doing. You're watching and listening to the Catholic Underground. That's right. We're the Catholic Underground. I'm Father Chris, joined by Kathleen and Olivia and Jeff and Albert and you, as a matter of fact.
Hello.
You're here. We're glad that you are. We're talking about sacred space. And we talked about our capacity, our desire for it. And now we talk a little bit about what sacred spaces are made of. Because obviously anything will do, the best that you got, we offer to the Lord.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, if you look at sacred spaces here in 2021, it's gold.
Yeah.
Gold or marble.
Yep.
These are bougie stuff.
Yeah, these really expensive looking things.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of times people will question, I don't know if you get this, but like, why are your churches so full of gold? And why is it why is it that you spend so much money on that? I'm like, because it's the house of the Lord.
Yeah.
Like,
why would we hold anything back?
Yeah, it's the best that we have to give. And, I think there is there's something to say if you're spending, billions of dollars on your church interior and not taking care of the people in your community, but that's I think it's what some people insinuate, but it's not what happens.
And it's not even the truth, because what people don't realize, just to cover this, factually speaking, the church is the largest nonprofit organization, charitable organization in the world, and that's verifiable, factually speaking, financially speaking, But also, when it comes to the amount of resources that are spent on, obviously a lot of the churches that we have are ancient or are old, right? But on not only the church structures themselves, but the things that go inside them, there's money, resources that are spent on those things. I think it comes down to priorities, right? Like, we don't hold back anything from God. And I think too, it's important to realize that a lot of what we do when it comes to our worship, right? Well, number one, that's like literally the reason that we're created, right? Because it's not just worship like servant to master,
Right.
It's worship in the sense of like family, right? Like this is how we have communion with God as as like sons and daughters to our Father.
Yeah.
And this is like the covenant relationship that God wants with us.
Right.
So that's priority one. But also, like, this goes back to like the Garden of Eden. Like, we hear in Genesis that the Garden of Eden was laden with gold. There's precious stones like everywhere, and this is no ordinary garden, right? Because I don't got onyx just sitting on my garden.
Yeah, for real.
Right?
Not typically.
No, not that I've found. I found some bottle caps, but nothing else. But then, think about like Solomon's temple. Solomon's temple was like crusted in gold. Like there was not a single surface in Solomon's temple that was not completely laden in gold.
Yeah.
And again, the reason is because it's supposed to draw us out of this world into the house of God, the mind of God, into the heart of God, so that we are reminded, at least mentally, but existentially, that's what we're doing in our worship, right? We are communing with God. It's where heaven and earth are meeting, and that's literally what's happening in the Mass, right? And so our churches, the physical structures help us to do that, but it's not going to happen if it's plywood and cardboard and like prefab. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So, for example, like Santa Maria in Trastevere in Rome is a good example. Go ahead, Kathleen.
Yeah, sure, that one.
That's literally my favorite.
No, I've never been there.
In the world.
Yeah. Well, we do have a picture if we want to go to the laptop feed. I think we can show it to you. If you're listening to us on the podcast, nope, laptop feed is frozen, so never mind. So yeah, we do.
It's in the earlier parts of the week.
These beautiful churches that have gold and mosaic and whatnot. Yeah. That's not to showcase our artistry.
Sure.
Right.
It's to showcase our desire for God.
Yeah. Well, it's what is beautiful. What is true? When you go and you see, I mean, it doesn't even have to be, the majority of us have at some point in our life walked into a beautiful sanctuary and gone, wow. But it doesn't even have, when you talk about what beauty is and how inspiring beauty is, it doesn't even have to be of a religious nature. You see a beautiful piece of art, and it's like, it's moving. It's, it's awe-inspiring. You realize that there is something, this is something out of the ordinary from your everyday existence, where we just kind of plod along, and then we're, face to face with, a Michelangelo or, a Sistine Chapel or something like that. And you just go, wow. Yeah. And so the idea that beauty is what inspires us, and that beauty, and I'm gonna take a little, this is my humble opinion.
Go for it.
Not all art and what we consider to be art is beautiful, in my opinion. And it's those inspiring pieces where you're just like, that is true beauty. Just because we call something art doesn't mean that it's beautiful. Just saying.
Well, I think I think you're right. I mean, I'm teaching a class on theology through art this semester, and we spent a few weeks on aesthetics, like the study of beauty and what beauty is, and art's relationship to beauty. And that was one thing that we talked about, was like, is all art beautiful? Because if beauty is a transcendental, it's something that we can say of God, right? God, there's four transcendentals: unity, goodness, truth, and beauty. And those are like the divine, right? If you want to like say those things of God, right. Not all, made things, made works of art are going to point to God.
Right.
They might have some elements of like proportion or harmony,
right,
or balance or whatever, some elements, some aesthetic elements, right? So they might have some elements of beauty, but do they lead you to beauty itself?
Right.
Do they lead you to hope, right? Like Dostoevsky says, like, beauty will save the world. Not all pieces of art are going to inspire that hope that will save,
Right, exactly. And that's why if you think about the way that typically church architecture is oriented, is it's vertical.
Yeah.
Like the language that it speaks. I often tell people that it's important that as you're considering building your parish church, or even constructing your sacred space at home, that you have some of these transcendental ideas that height is important,
Yeah.
not just because it shows how amazing you are and being able to stack
Yeah.
things up, but because you're reaching, right?
Yeah.
The church itself is a reaching upward into heaven, while God himself is desiring to come down to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, church architecture is, I like nerd out about it. So like, I remember a really good friend of mine, Rock, talks about this and talks about the idea that, you know, the outside of a church, you know, like, it's just so beautiful the way that it's designed. And think about it next time you probably do this, like your eyes go upwards without even thinking about it, because in a well-designed church, that's what it's meant to be. But he speaks about the idea that the outside of a church is very like straight lines and very strong and very, in a sense, you know, very masculine, you know, and, you know, almost like protective, you know.
Yeah.
And then when you walk into the inside, it's soft and warm and like curved, you know, curved, but it also draws you in and draws you up, you know, and I will never ever look at church architecture the same again.
Yep.
And when you have a beautiful, you know, beautiful cathedral, beautiful church, it really does.
Yeah.
Even though there may be a lot of things to look at, and you might think that might, you know, be distracting, it isn't. Like, it's just, it just like draws you into the point where you're like, yeah.
Yep.
Well, and that, I love that, because you don't have to know, like what you just said, you don't have to know anything about like what St. Augustine says,
Right.
or like, you don't have to know anything about like theology of the body, or, you know, anything that you consider to be like formally theological to understand the truth of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you know it when you see it, and
Right.
you integrate it, and you understand it, and you can live it.
That's right.
And that's the point of sacred architecture. And even the people who were designing and building these spaces, especially in like the kind of Renaissance Gothic period,
Right.
they knew that.
Yep.
And they knew that the people that they were building these spaces for, 99% of them were illiterate
Yep.
and uneducated. And this was their shot at helping them to understand their faith.
Right.
right.
Because they were coming to church, they were coming to mass, maybe, you know, once, for their obligation, right?
Right.
And what they heard this was the center of their life. It was the center of their town. It was the center of their life. And what they heard in that church and what they saw in that church and experienced in that architecture, that was their understanding of their faith.
That's right.
And so this was their shot to help those people understand.
Right.
And that is actually true enlightenment, huh?
Yeah,
When we
exactly.
go to the light himself, huh? Light from light. All right, well, we've got more. We're going to talk about your sacred spaces coming up. We're the Catholic Underground. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back. Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of Mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To thee do we cry, poor banished children of Eve. To thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in this valley of tears. Turn then, most gracious Advocate, thine eyes of mercy towards us, and after this our exile, show unto us the blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. Yeah, you found the Catholic Underground. I'm Father Chris, joined by Kathleen Lee, Olivia Gulino. We've got Jeff Blackwell up on the Jeff Star one. Albert Dupont sits to his right and makes video looks nice. If you're listening to us in the podcast, trust us, it looks great. All right, we've been talking about sacred space this episode, talked about the need for it, right? Why we do that, and actually why God calls it forth from us, you know. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about architecture to some degree. And yeah, that's right, sacred spaces. And of course, we are also going to talk about our own personal sacred spaces. Just fair warning, you all sent in pictures.
Yeah.
And I, before the show, loaded them all up into my program. Working fine.
Perfect.
But now that we're doing the show, it's not working.
It's
So,
don't tell.
it is the way it goes. So we thought maybe perhaps we could describe some of our sacred spaces?
Well, first, I want to say, like, for those of you who send in pictures, thank you so
Yeah.
much. Be looking out for that on our social media. You can
Yep.
follow us
Yeah.
on Instagrams and the Twitters
Twitters.
and all the things, and we'll say all those at the end of the show. But we're about to blow those up, and we're going to be looking for some interaction. We'd love to feature some of your stuff on here. So we had asked, what are some of those sacred spaces? What are some of those maybe churches that you love, or retreat spaces that you love? Or, being that many of us have spent a lot of time at home these days,
We sure have.
some of us were kind of thrown into this idea of having to part and parcel out our home, and to make space and make intentional space, because we once were able to leave and go to another space to worship and go to another space to work. Some of us, it all happens in one place now. So to be intentional about that space, especially in your home, is very challenging, and especially for those of you out there who you have many people living at your home, and many little people living at your home. That might be a little bit more difficult. For me, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment, so space is limited. And for myself, I know I'm looking at getting a house, and the idea of more space is just blowing my mind. I don't know what to do with it. But now that I'm in one place, I had to be creative. And so I have in my apartment, I have what's called my cross wall. And I have
I think we might have it. Hold on.
Oh.
There-
Oh.
yeah. If you're listening, there
Found
it is.
it.
Yeah, we got Kathleen's sacred space.
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah, there it is. And so these are crosses that have been gifted to me, and also everywhere I go, I travel, I pick up a new cross. So if you see the tiny cross there in the middle, that's from our dear friend Roberto.
Yeah.
But they
Roberto.
all have meaning to me. And so my space I had to be creative, is on my wall. I have a lot of sacred art as well. I'm looking
Because you
forward.
commission stuff too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a lot of friends that do Catholic art, and so I think that is one of the greatest things to support.
Yeah.
As Catholic artists, it's a great thing to put in your home, because it makes you walk by and just go, "Huh,
Yeah.
okay, Padre Pio, I see you today."
It
Right?
works on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And then
right.
like when one of them catches your eye, and they're beautiful paintings. I wish I would have taken pictures of those as well. But when one of them is just staring at you extra hard, a day, you're like, okay, I see you.
That's right.
Like,
And it's looking right back.
Yeah, tell me what you want. Our beautiful.
It's almost like a sacramental
Right.
of Eucharistic adoration,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Ooh, it's an infinite regress. It's a sacramental of a sacrament.
Yeah.
Of a
Yeah.
because these images can be sacramentals for us, right? Because sacramentals, Jeff, point us towards the sacrament.
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
You
yes.
know? And
I've got a quick question,
Yeah.
because I always think about because in fact you have a beautiful icon that you got for me and my wife when you were in Rome, and but I've got other icons, crucifixes, even pictures of loved ones who have passed on.
sure.
But does that sacred space? Does it need to be blessed by a priest, or is it necessary? A lot of the items are already blessed.
Well, let me tell you, Jeff, that is typically what is done during the season of Epiphany.
Okay.
In fact, it's not uncommon for the priest to be invited over for Epiphany to do home blessings.
Yeah.
I see.
And so as you bless the home, so you bless the general space, right?
Yes.
And then you bless each of the rooms. And then certainly a blessing of the home altar is definitely something that
Beautiful.
can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good question, because I know a lot of folks wonder about it,
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see. We have another sacred space here. Let's see if I can find Olivia's home altar.
Yeah, mine, like Kathleen's, is that's not mine. Mine is very humble.
Yeah.
We'll say it's very humble. Yes. So, and you'll notice there's a big speaker there because it's next to my record player. Anyway,
It shares.
You have a record
so
player?
I do.
That's beautiful.
So I have my sleeping St. Joseph statue, and I have a little felt letterboard where I'll put different, if there's a scripture that I'm praying with or something, I'll change that up.
Oh yeah, I don't think I have the felt board there.
Oh, that's okay. But so it's literally just a small little alcove kind of thing. But it's where I keep my prayer cards. It's where I have like some St. Joseph oil, like that's like from a shrine. I keep holy water, and it's where I put my prayer intentions. I have an icon there of the Holy Family from Bethlehem. I almost accidentally entered into an arranged marriage, and that was the fruit of it. Anyway, so things like that.
That was the only fruit, right?
Yes,
For the after show.
that was like a consolation prize. Anyway,
I'll take your icon, and I'm headed to customs.
yes. It's a long story. Anyway, so it's one of those places where I don't have like a pray to or anything, but I do get to like I will go and like put my prayer intentions there and put them under the head of St. Joseph and
Yeah, I see you've got some there.
Be really intentional about like, all right, these are the things that I'm praying with. And it's in my living room, so like I pass by it multiple times a day, and I kind of like will touch my hand to St. Joseph, and so it's one of those things where it's like I need to live with, or it encourages me to live with those prayer intentions and to live with those particular saints or that particular scripture, whatever it is.
That's really what the sacred space is in your home for, right? That's why you set that little tabernacle aside, is to remind you of the desire God has to be in the midst of our stuff. Michael in the chat room says, such great points in art and how it draws us to God makes me think of the scriptural meaning of the rainbow and its natural artistic beauty. The Lord paints with the seven, seven cardinal colors that he gives us in the bow that he sets in the clouds. And that is a beautiful artistic representation of a covenant, of his covenant with us. He says also, this discussion is definitely a reminder of the importance of Christian art as an emphasis for catechesis to our children.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing, right? Is that in the same way that medieval artists would make stained glass and these carvings for those who perhaps couldn't read, our children are learning to read, first of all, by watching us and what we do and what we take in.
Yeah. Well, and John Paul II talks about that in his letter to artists, and Benedict echoes that in his like message to artists too, that like we should make a masterpiece out of our lives. Like the kind of foundational art that we all should make is our life, right? Like that's our canvas, so to speak. But that artists in a particular way are called to do that so that we kind of draw the masterpiece out of everyone else.
Yeah.
Right. But like that's the evangelical side of art, right?
Yeah,
the evangelical side of beauty, that like the artist and like you can speak to that more than I can. Side of beauty is to draw that out of people, to draw out the desire for that masterpiece, but also like the how.
That's right. Kathleen, did I take your train of thought there?
No, I thought about that earlier
kids.
about the stained glass and how I thought that was like, today we look at stained glass, we're like, ooh, pretty, let's the light in, so nice. But it used to be a catechetical tool. And that's how people
still is.
Yeah, sure.
When it's representational.
Yeah, right. I thought that was such a cool, another thing of there was importance to letting light in when there was no real light source of candles, but that also had a spiritual function as well.
That's right. Yeah. Let's see if I can find. We were talking about some of the other things. So, like the cathedral in Cologne in Germany is high. It's this big Gothic, cathedral, and it rises out. So even in your own home altar, you can do a little. Something that might be more vertically oriented. Yeah, exactly. I think I have a picture of my home altar somewhere.
I'm glad we did yours last.
See if I can find it. Let's see. I'm going to just cycle through some images here.
You literally have Jesus in yours.
Wait, hold on. Let me. This is Victoria Marie Miller Close's home altar.
So cool.
So she's got her cupboard under the stairs. Is icon rich. Some beautiful statuary there. So like as you're passing it, you can't help but go, okay, Lord, what are you drawing my eye to now? And one of the things that I believe about the sacred art that I have in my house is that the Lord specifically kind of will will kind of tug me in a direction and move my eye towards something, you know, as a place to pray. Let's see. Kathleen's sacred space, and then mine. So, I mean, I cheat, right? Because I actually have a little space. I have a little space to have a home chapel, as a lot of priests are kind of doing again. And of course, for those of you who watched the live stream during El Lockdowno, this is where I live stream Mass from. And so my newest addition, of course, is my statue of St. John Birchmans. I've been looking, and relic of St. John Birchmans. I've been looking for this. St. John Birchmans is my patron, my confirmation patron. And I was able to find a statue and a first-class relic of him. And so I've been making a spot for him. You can see that I have other lights and stuff there. That was for TV cameras. So I just haven't taken some of them out.
But you know what's funny? Or not funny. You know what's interesting is, you know, the way that we light things, you know, the candles that we light, the music and the art in these sacred spaces. You know, when we visited this space, you walk in and you know immediately. You know immediately that, you know, that there's something different here. And so, you know, when you walk into a chapel or you walk into a home chapel such as this, it's like you immediately,
that's right.
You know?
You quiet yourself.
You recognize that this is something set apart for something different.
That's right.
You know, and so that should be, even though it may be a little bit more difficult for you in your home, finding space or finding a space where, you know, little peanut butter covered hands can't touch, you know, find that space where you know, your children know, you know, those who visit your house know, okay, this space is something different. You know, this space is where we meet with the Lord.
That's right.
You know, and they may not know immediately, like, oh, okay, but you know, there is that sense of, okay, this is set apart.
That's a good point.
And even though as a priest I have this is like this is a little room that used to be like a little copy room, and most of the time when I'm by myself, I leave the door open so that whenever I'm walking by, I don't have an excuse. In fact, for Lent, I'll tell you, it's not always easy to go and sit in that room for me. And so I drug my easy chair into there. As if to say to myself, all right, Christopher, because I call myself by my Christian name. All right, Christopher, you're gonna, if you like sitting in that comfy chair, well, it's in here now. And so go and be with the Lord. And comfortable with Him, you know, and that sort of thing. So that's been helpful. There's been some fruit from that as well. So you can continue to send in your pictures of your home altar, and we'll feature those on our various social media feeds.
And that
I know some of you didn't. I didn't get the pictures in time to put them up.
That's okay. But it might be something that we do like a rotating segment.
That's correct. That's not a bad rotating segment as they go.
And I just want to offer like an encouragement, because I was thinking about it as I was like taking a picture of mine, and you know, there's like that little creeping voice of like, mine's not that good, you know, my house is small kind of thing. But like, you know, the voice of comparison. But I was thinking about it as I was like sending it in, you know, before the show. I was thinking about, it's like, you know, my relationship with God is very different than other people's, and so it makes sense that like my home altar, my sacred space, is going to look different.
That's right.
And so what if mine has a speaker in it and it's got just a bunch of random like collected things and it's kind of haphazard? Well, so is my prayer life. Like it's fine, you know, and it's your sacred space is going to look different too, and that works. You know, that it's where God meets you, so it's going to look how your relationship with God looks, and mazel tov. So just maybe to offer an encouragement.
Well, I was thinking like I had to take a picture of my wall. Okay. Like, that tells you the state of my house, because I did not want to take a picture of anything in my house. And when you mentioned the Prado, the kneeler, I was like, oh, I have one of those. A dear friend of mine, a priest friend of mine, made one for me. And I have one. And I'm like, oh, and then I remembered it is now hanging some of my clothes up. So, right. And so when you think about the things that, you know, in my mind, I'm like, okay, Kathleen, you got to be a little bit more intentional on that, you know, but, you know, thinking forward to when I get a house, like I already think, where am I going to place that? You know, where am I going to put that? So don't send us what you got. You know, we'd love to see, like Olivia was saying, that's beautiful.
That is a good and an interesting point. If you're building a new house or moving into a new apartment or something like that, what if the first thing that you think of is not how big of a bed can I get,
Right.
you know, but where's the prayer space going to be?
Yeah.
Where is the little tabernacle that, even though I may not have the Blessed Sacrament there, you know,
Right.
because that's very difficult to do if you're not a priest or a bishop, huh?
Right.
But to be able to say, where's my little meeting tent? Where's that going to be in the house? It doesn't have to be big, you know.
Yeah.
Yours is a bookshelf, right?
Yeah.
And Kathleen, yours is a portion of the wall.
Yeah.
You know, I've been very, very fortunate to have space for a chapel because not every rectory has space for one of those, believe it or not.
Right.
And so of course, in my last rectory, I kind of literally with my dad, may he rest in peace, we chopped through a closet into a storage room so that there could be a chapel.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's
great.
beautiful.
That's great.
It was our last project together before he went to the eternal chapel. Huh? Yeah, it was. I missed that. I missed that chapel. I missed that rectory too for that. But that's you know, you move on, and your prayer space changes as your prayer life changes, and as your assignments change, as your life changes. You know.
And you know what? A challenge that I just thought about is, you know, for Olivia and I, we're religion teachers, and so, and Father Chris as well, like, it's easy to kind of make our workspace, you know, a sacred space. But maybe the challenge to you this Lent is, how can you find some sacred space in your workspace? You know, whether it be just a prayer card, or it maybe for those of you who work for the church, maybe it's getting to the sacred space. 'Cause I know a lot of us may work right next to a church that we seldom have or make time to visit outside of, you know, our obligations. So, you know, not only in our home, but where in our work, you know, do we make space and time for the Lord?
It's true. It's very true. Yeah. Well, I think maybe just to kind of dovetail off of this is we go to the segment of the show that isn't our pick of the week, but kind of is. It's what we like to call the monastery down the block.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am impressed.
Yeah.
The timing was
I
great.
did not know that was coming, but I was like, okay.
Yeah, so now you'll know this convent fairly well because Sister Philomena Marie,
Yeah.
who is one of our dear friends who
we
just made
love.
her first vows a couple of years ago now. It's been a year, maybe two.
No, it's only been. It was during lockdown. So.
Oh, it was. So it was
May.
last May. So it hasn't even been a year yet. My goodness.
I know,
My
time.
time is all messed up. Yeah. But you know, when you enter into religious life, you really are entering into timelessness. So maybe that's what it is. But anyway, so Sister Philomena Marie is a member of the Marian Sisters of Santa Rosa. And they have a lovely little website. I think
Built.
that she built. I think
not-
I've frozen the computer. Oh, maybe not actually. And so they have a fantastic little blog. And so if you want to find out more about their life and what they do, they're sisters that were erected by the bishop of the Diocese of Santa Rosa with a very specific devotion to Our Lady and devotion to praying for priests. And so if you want to see their life, they document it very, very well on their website. And they really kind of cool. They just purchased. There was a one of the giant forest fires in 2017 decimated a lot of the area there. And so the Ursuline sisters had a convent that kind of backs up against one of the schools, and they had a school, but the school had to close and kind of was conglomerated with the school down the hill. And the Ursuline sisters had to leave. They couldn't keep up the property. They had to kind of consolidate and move elsewhere. Well, the Marian Sisters of Santa Rosa purchased that property. And so through the magic of Google, we actually have a little picture of what's going to be their convent. And it's there in Santa
California.
Rosa. It's so very California. It's on a hill, and it's overlooking the little high school for one of the Dawson high schools there.
Wow.
That's perfect
And it's
for them.
closer to the Chancery building where a lot of them work, and to some of the schools and some of their apostolic ministries, because that's one of the things that the sisters do is they embed themselves within the parish churches and within the catechetical programs in the diocese. Sister Philomena Marie is working in the Chancery at the tribunal.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so she's learning all of the inner workings of the church.
Yeah.
Like if you want to see all of the warts of the church,
Go work.
work in the tribunal. You see all those who are hurting and looking for healing. And so that, and she writes to me periodically, and I'm sorry, sister, that I don't write back to you as often as I should. I know that I should. I did write her recently, a couple of weeks ago, and she talks about how beautiful. It's difficult work, but it's beautiful work. You know, to be able to work with the bishop and with the vicar general and the tribunal as well. So, so the Marian sisters they rise at 5 o'clock in the morning. They have a holy hour at 5:45. Breakfast is at 8. Then from 8:30 to noon, they go into their apostolates and their daily duties. They have prayers at noon. Then they have a little time of quiet prayer and spiritual reading at 1. At 2, they have classes, so they continue to learn, especially the novitiate. They continue to learn about their order. They continue to learn about the constitutions that their order is founded on. At 4:15, they have recreation. At 5:15, they chant Vespers together. At 6, they have the Angelus before dinner. They have Compline, which is night prayer. Then at 9, they have the Grand Silence, and 10, lights out. Did I miss Mass in there? They also pray. They also go to Mass.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they don't. Yeah. So Mass is in there somewhere. And the Marian Sisters of Santa Rosa celebrate both the extraordinary form of the Roman Rite and the ordinary form of the Roman Rite. So they're kind of breathing with both of these lungs here in the West. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful order. So maybe that's a monastery down the block that may not be close to you geographically, or maybe it is because, you know, Jim, our managing editor, Jim, and his crew in the lab, he lives
might just
right
down the
near, down the block, basically. But through the power of the internet, you're able to kind of to see this place. Yeah. And if the Lord is asking you to discern the religious life, maybe this is a place that he's calling you to be.
Yeah. I love the internet for reasons like this. There are, when you have an order that is active on social media, and gives you a rundown of this is I think, religious life is shrouded in a lot of mystery.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, I don't know what happens. They go and they get shut up in the place and then they don't ever come out and nobody ever sees, and it's like, no, man, look at they're like, it's like an anthill sometimes, right? It's real calm and you don't know what's going on in the front, but you knock that thing and sisters are running all around. But I think that this is such a great opportunity that some of our religious orders are just breaking open social media, making awesome websites. There was a sister on TikTok the other day and I was like, I want to follow you. I follow her now. We're now TikTok friends. I don't know what that means, but whatever. And she's making, hilarious videos and she's answering these silly questions to me because I know the answers, but and she's like, oh yeah, people ask me this all the time. Like, what's under my veil? And she'll say something really, funny. But I think that that's such a great thing, especially for our young people. And I've said this a lot, is like, if we want to be present to our young people, we have to be where our young people are. And if we aren't, someone else will be. Absolutely.
That's right.
And so, for our religious communities to have a presence on Twitter, on TikTok, which sounds silly, but Facebook, YouTube. I follow the CFRs, Franciscan Friars, and they
exude joy.
Yeah, and they show like, hey, I'm a normal person and I know how to use a computer. And
we're just as abnormal as everybody else. That's right.
I did a project with my 8th graders where they researched religious orders, and some of them were like, they had like videos where they talked to us, and I was like, because they're so normal people.
Right. It's not the 17th century inside their monastery.
And so I think that's incredible. I love it.
So the Marian Sisters of Santa Rosa, I should have just read the fine print here. So at 5 o'clock, when they hear the bell, they arise, and it says that the bell signifies the voice of the beloved praying, I will arise and put on Jesus Christ crucified, whom my soul loves and in whom my heart rejoices. At 5:45 in the morning, before my higher brain functions are even thinking about, working, it says, we unite in offering Eucharistic holy hour for priests, our Fatima prayers, period of mental prayer and lauds are prayed in a spirit of adoration and reparation before Jesus and the sacrament of his love. And the holy sacrifice of the Mass follows our renewal and our total consecration to Jesus through Mary. So from 5:45 until 8, effectively, they're praying not only for the world, but also for the priests who minister in it. And so, yeah, I have yet to make a field trip out that way. Father Brent Mayer, who's a great friend of the order, has been champing at the bit to get me to go. I haven't done it yet.
He built my Prado.
He built your Prado. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so...
Yeah.
These priests, I tell you.
You should go and practice your extraordinary form.
I really should. Actually, I need to practice my extraordinary form before I go and celebrate the extraordinary form there. But that's another thing that I'm hoping to do this Lent is to brush up on my Latin a little bit. You know, because it's good. It's good to be able to do these things. I mean, the church is so big and wide and beautiful, and why ought we not to celebrate her in her entirety? Yeah. So MSS or MarianSisters.com is that website for the Marian Sisters of Santa Rosa. They are our monastery down the block.
Yes,
you know, you can always send us things. So maybe there's a monastery actually down your block. Well, let us know, Backchat at CatholicUnderground.com, or you can comment on any number of our videos on our Facebook page, facebook.com/CatholicUnderground. Or you can tweet us. I don't know. I haven't checked the Twitter in a bit, but we're at Cath Underground on Twitter. And so we're trying to kind of revamp and re-engage in our social media presence.
Yep.
Especially Kathleen. Kathleen and Olivia have been getting after it.
Yeah, but I also have to realize that people want more than just videos of me. That's true. I'm just like, hey guys, what's up? And I'm like,
debatable.
Maybe I should do some posts.
I love videos of
Yeah, we got a merch update.
A merch update. The merch is in. And I just have to put the inventory on the website, and then it will be available for shipping. And I think Kathleen and Olivia said they'll help with the shipping as well.
Yep.
Very
Indeed.
good.
And I think Catholic Radio has a stamps.com account.
Hello.
All right.
So that might help us out there. So if you're
Expedite
looking
them
for merch,
orders.
I'll say in the next 2 weeks, look for merch to be available. We'll send out a social media blast for that.
Yeah, the CU Fulfillment Center will be
In
functioning.
full swing. That's right. Exactly. That's right. The conveyor belt, it's probably going to be like Lucy and Ethel trying to wrap chocolates, actually.
But only if there's real chocolate.
But only if there's real chocolate. We don't have any chocolate logo
I'm not gonna
merchandise.
It'll be two
Yet.
teachers after hours trying
That's
to do
true.
things that involve brain function.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It's true. Jeff, since
Yes.
you're here.
As always, the Catholic Underground is made possible by viewers, listeners, prayer warriors, and benefactors like you. Become an official Undergrounder today by going to CatholicUnderground.com/donate. And you can also help us out by letting others know about us and to remember to like us and heart us and star us on your platform of choice. And if the podcast service that you use to listen to us has a way of leaving a comment, please do so. And we'd appreciate it if it's a positive comment too.
That's true, yeah. If it's positive one, it kind of pushes us up a little
Absolutely,
higher so
yes.
that other people can see us, yeah? Our panelists this week have been Kathleen Lee at KLee626 on Instagram. Thanks, Kathleen.
Anytime.
Olivia Galino is the.real.omg on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you, Olivia.
Thank y'all.
Also, Jeff Blackwell is our technical director. He's at Jeff Blackwell us on the Twitter.
Yes, indeed. It's a privilege to be here, Father.
Yeah, glad to have you back. Albert Dupont is our video director. And aren't you at W5 Video? Is that right? Okay, I got it right. Yeah, on Instagram and Twitter and all this stuff. Jim Hayes is our research assistant, and he's got his crew in the lab there as well. And you know me, I'm Father Chris Decker. I'm on all of the things at Digital Catholic, Twitter, Instagram, basically everything. You've been listening to the Catholic Underground, cutting through the noise so that you can find that still small voice. We, my friends, will see you next time.
From the Catholic Underground. For more
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, good night, everybody. We got about a minute before less than a minute before we end. So thanks for watching the live stream. We hope you had fun. We know we had fun. It's nice to be back in the studio. Yeah,
We did indeed.
I always
Thanks,
get very
Paulette.
sad when they're like, nah, we're not going in this week because of whatever.
yeah. What is it this week?
Because
Yeah.
Okay.
Kathleen's not here for your excuses.
I'll just stay home.
It's true.
Snowmageddon. Get over it.
Yeah, the telephone line snapped off my house.
Oh, yeah. Because it was frozen.
Yeah, because, I mean, granted, I don't have a landline, so it doesn't matter,
still.
but it literally just snapped off because it was that cold. And now it's just in my yard.
Wah, wah. No, I'm just kidding.
10
Should've been
seconds. The
here.
only thing I can say is have a great Lent thus far, and we'll see you next week.
Yoo-hoo.
Bye, everybody.